Hello, Health Journey Heroes. This is Beth Black from Loose Sickness and Fine Wellness. And I am so excited to be here tonight again. Just let me tell you a little bit about our podcast. First of all, they're about getting to the root causes of health challenges with solid solutions. So, we're always tending to focus on eating well, exercise, supplementing intelligently. What does that mean? There's so many aspects to optimal health. And so I want you to know that our goal is to introduce you to those that are on the front lines, that are in the trenches with people on this journey. But we're going to have a lot of fun along the way. And if you know someone or you are that someone who's on a health journey, please like, share, and subscribe below. And so let's get started. I'm excited about my guest tonight. My guest tonight actually is from Orlando, Florida. However, she hails from Alabama. And when we met, probably, she'll have to tell you, I think it was probably about 6, 7 years ago now.
hmm
Boy, time flies. I was just so impressed. So, we're going to be talking about fitness, and I can't think of anyone better. She is a personal trainer and a certified health coach of 10 years. And on top of that, has a really strong exercise science background. So, she brings a lot to the table. I also know that she has learned a lot in the lines that go along with exercise because we know that abs are not made in the fitness room, they're made in the kitchen. And so she's very knowledgeable in nutrition as well to go along with that. And that really makes her a really premium health coach because she really understands all the aspects that go into health. And that is a multi-pronged approach. So, with no further ado, I want to introduce you to Miss Emily Logan. Emily, thank you for joining me tonight.
Hello, hello, and thank you so much for having me tonight. I am super excited to just chat a little bit about fitness and hopefully answer some questions that people have been thinking or having about it.
Awesome, awesome. So, Emily, I want to start with, and I'm trying to change my speaker view here. There we go. I want to start with tonight. You have such an incredible story that I think people need to know. I always say we don't all end up in the fitness industry or the health coaching industry just because. There's a story that brings all of us here. So, could you just tell us a little bit of how did you get into the whole fitness world and the health coaching?
Yeah, absolutely. I do wish that it was just because, because that probably would have saved my gut some issues and nights from pain. That's for sure. But actually, I first got into fitness because I have four older sisters and I am very competitive. And my closest sister at the time, she was in a fitness boot camp style course and she was just kicking butt, taking names. And I was getting a little jealous. So I wanted to step up and see what it was that she was doing. And at that age, I think I was 19 and I had never set foot in a gym before. I'd never played a sport. So that's what really opened the door to get me started.
Wow, I don't know that I even knew that little piece. I knew
Yeah.
you were competitive. That's not the piece I didn't know.
Yep.
But and I knew you had four sisters, but I didn't know that they one of those was the one that got you in the door. So that's
Yep.
exciting. So with that being said, obviously you've had a gravitation to nutrition as well as a part of your exercise component. I know you graduated with a degree in exercise science and all of that great stuff, but then it was really getting into certain environments and seeing how important nutrition was. And I know that you have a story of your own that goes along with that. I don't know if you want to share that tonight, but I'd really love for you to share with the audience what was, other than that competitiveness, what kept you moving forward to stay with it and stay with the exercise and stay with getting healthy? Like, what were your trigger things that made you decide that you were going to really make this part of your lifestyle?
Absolutely. So there's definitely a story in connection with that. It's actually, of course, being in that fitness setting, in the class setting, that was super motivating. But motivation doesn't always get us there. And that's what I was experiencing for myself. It actually took me a while to get that aha moment. And it took, yes, the support and push from other people. It took really, I call it a fit family, but it took support and motivation. But it was a challenge that I did, a 30-day challenge where I was taught about food. I was educated about nutrition labels and what to look for. And I myself lost just under 50 pounds. I didn't hit the 50 mark in that challenge, but I did eventually reach that 50. And it really was an aha moment for me because I grew up and my pantry looked like a Walmart shelf. I grew up in that kind of world where I did not know what healthy, clean foods really were.
Mhm. I think that's something, and again, I want to build on that a little bit in some future podcasts with you because I think a lot of people think they can just go do the exercise, and we can, but at some point, eventually, the internal part of yourself is going to catch up. Some sooner than later, others later than sooner.
Hmm.
But the thing is, it will catch up. And so I would like to go down that path with you on a future podcast. But tonight, I really want to focus in because I think people get very confused on what they need to do to exercise. And the thing is, I think a lot of people don't even realize what is on their table or what's in their pantry or what's on their shelf and how that's affecting them. That's why I want to go down that avenue on a future podcast because I think it's really important that we maybe do a little grocery shopping podcast and talk
Absolutely.
about that. You know, I think everybody's heard that they should shop from the perimeter of the store, but that doesn't always mean you're still grabbing the right things. And
Hmm.
not to go down that path tonight, we'll leave that for a future podcast. But let's talk about exercise because that's really where you started. And everyone can see from the cover photo on this podcast your before and after. And it's amazing when you see where someone came from as a child, because truly at that point you were a child, and to be able to lose 50 plus pounds. And I've been able to myself coach families as well as children. And when I say children, if you're coaching a child, you're coaching the family. But
Hmm.
you now were a young adult, so it was really not about your family, it was really about you. And taking those different habits that we were brought up on and having to change them. So let's talk about exercise habits. There's
And
different.
those were formed.
Yeah, and you were such an exercise enthusiast, and you've kept the weight off. You know, we all go through what I call little hills and valleys as we go through our different age groups and things, and life challenges and struggles. But you've never gained that weight back. And so maybe yes, maybe you gain 5 pounds back, 7 pounds, but you know how to get back on the train, get back on the track. Um,
Absolutely.
so let's go and dive into the fitness because you have literally trained hundreds, if not thousands, of people at this point in fitness. And I think it's important for people to know what weighs in where. So can you kind of break down the areas of fitness for everybody, and then let's break them each apart a little bit on this podcast so people know when they leave what should I be doing?
For sure. And I always want to start with I call it like the macro focus and go into the micro focus with exercising because so many people hear and see things, just posted online or the Insta popular famous people who are just doing the quick things. And normally those are the very micro details that take a ton of consistency. And like you were saying, creating those healthy habits. Well, we got to figure out how to create a habit first and what it is that we even need to focus on before we look at those micro things, those micro details. So for like you were mentioning, the three different kind of things I want to focus on or would love to talk about is it's going to be mobility training, your cardio training, and strength training. Those are the three different types of training that you're going to hear. Maybe some have different fun names that coaches want to put on top of those, but those are what your three focuses are going to be for the important types of movement in life and in your overall health.
I love what you just said because I will tell you, as a 60 something, and I just turned 63 last week. So, as a 60 something, and also as an occupational therapist, I love what you just said because truly, when it comes down to it, yes, we all want to look better. We all want, that fit body. But at the same time, it's all about mobility because if you lose your mobility, you do not have the function to be able to do everyday lifestyle things. And
Hmm.
so I love that you say that. So why don't we start with mobility and let's kind of break that down and put it into some bite-sized pieces of what that looks like for people.
For sure. And mobility is honestly, it's my favorite to get people started on. So it's a great topic to start with.
So in terms of mobility, so from me, mobility is what I would call functional mobility. It needs to be functional. And there's all kinds of scientific terms we could throw out there, but I don't want to do that tonight because this is for the large audience.
Hmm.
What exactly do we mean by mobility? Because there's a lot of what I call stretch therapists out there now. Like you can go into a gym and there's a stretch therapist. What is the difference of when you mention mobility versus just stretching, and what truly are we talking about?
And does matter the difference there because there's a huge difference between the two. Stretching really just means, okay, cool, I can get there, I can reach there, I can make it there. But your mobility training is going to be, I can make it there and stay there for quite some time without the pains, without the ow, without the oh my goodness moments. And the stretching really is elongating those muscles for the time being, maybe working out some soreness and some kinks. Whereas that mobility work is going to be also focusing very little bit on the strength movements within that flexibility. How flexible can your joints be? And again, how long can we stay and hold those positions?
It's again, I'm going to keep bringing it back to occupational therapy, you guys. Occupational therapy, one of the things that we were always concerned about, no matter what age the client was or the patient, was mobility that was functional, meaning can you bend over and reach your feet, but can you stay there, you're saying, so you can tie your shoes,
Yes.
okay? Or so that you can get your foot into the pant leg hole and put
Hmm.
your pants on. Um, Anything like that is a functional mobility, and that takes more than just a stretch.
Yeah. How many times can you consistently lean over and load the dishwasher? It's the small things that I hear that people are aching on. It's those simple movements. The I have to run up and down the stairs for work, and at the end of the day, my knees are killing me. It's how many times can we do that small repetitive motion? And there's again, we'll talk in a minute on how that's not always cardio, and you might think you're doing it, but it's actually not.
Well, and I want to jump into cardio, but I'm going to ask another question about mobility first of all. How
Hmm.
often should somebody really be focused on mobility in, say, a given week in relationship to weight training or cardio?
So you're definitely going to be splitting them up. But for me personally, I tell people you truly need to focus on at least 20 minutes 5 times a week. That can be a big, big change for a lot of people. And it's also an easy way to just create the consistency in the beginning. Just start working on that mobility so that your body can go easily into the cardio training and the strength training whenever you're ready to be adding that into your routine. And if you're already there, then guess what? I can bet that you're not doing the mobility training. So it's time to go ahead and crank it up and add that already into your training, at least minimum 3 days a week, minimum. But if you're already training that much, I definitely believe people could hit 5 days a week.
And am I correct? Does this have to be done at the gym?
Oh, no way. This could be done while you're watching TV. It could be done while you're if you do work from home or if you work at a desk, it can be done while you're sitting at your desk, and just little breaks here and there. There's plenty of different places that you can do it without even thinking or realizing that you have the moment and the space to get that movement done.
This is great because I think a lot of people aren't consistent because they think they have to take this big, huge hour, hour and a half at the gym, and they're running around with the family and trying to do their work and trying to take care of, the neighbors' dogs or their own dogs or what have you. We all have things, and then it becomes, oh, I didn't do something for myself. And it's so important that if you don't take care of yourself first, you're really not going to be good to take care of anyone else.
Nope, exactly,
So if you're a
exactly.
parent of a pet or a child, or taking care of older parents, maybe you're taking care of your own parents, whoever you're taking care of, you need to take care of yourself first so that you can be more effective in taking care of others.
Exactly, exactly that. And mobility training is something that people think, just because I'm not sweating, it's not considered a workout. And that's just something that's so false. That's just not true at all. Mobility training is just as important as that cardio training and the strength training. Again, just because your heart rate's not beating fast or just because you're not having a big sweat from it, I promise you, you're going to feel some soreness the next day still from it.
You are so right. I'm actually going to insert a little story here because I think this is so important. Back in the day, I am a type A personality. So I was always go, 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 go. And I would stretch a little bit because that was part of my aerobic class and I would do it. But somebody told me, you really need to take Tai Chi. And I was like, oh, that is so slow. Like, it's not going to give me the workout I need. And he kept challenging me. And I went and took a Tai Chi class and I got done with it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I thought I was flexible and I thought I could do all these things. That was really hard. And he said, it's because it slows you down so much to focus that you really are working your body in a whole different way. And I began to have such a grand appreciation for it that I actually became Tai Chi certified at one point in my 30s and taught Tai Chi classes.
That is
Um,
awesome. True
and
motivation.
yeah, so I mean, it truly, truly changed my life. So all of this has to do with mobility. So let's move to cardio because I think a lot of people really go, well, I just have to get out and take that walk or that run, or I've got to get on the elliptical, or I've got to get on the stair climber, or whatever it is for you, or take an aerobics class. Let's talk about cardio. Um, Tell me a little bit of, what are the sound things people need to know about cardio, of how much cardio does their body need? And how is that going to differ from weight training? And let's kind of combine the two of them together, I think, because it's always a contention for some people.
Yes, and it can be absolutely it. It's honestly cardio wouldn't be, I would say, as needed as often as people think. People think that it's just, let me go do an hour of cardio, 7 days a week, and boom, I'm going to be fit. And that is just such a myth right there. Cardio truly can be defined as that movement, that consistent movement that gets your heart rate up. But what people mostly miss is it's for an extended period of time. That's the part that people miss. So they think, oh, I ran up those stairs today for just a minute. I did, that's a little bit of cardio. Well, nope, that was just the movement. And you definitely you tested those joints. But the cardio is going to be when that heart rate hits a higher point for an extended amount of time, meaning about 30 to, I say 40 minutes if you can hit it. But 30 minutes is perfect if that's all the time that you have, if that's what you can make it to, or even if you have to work your way up to 30 minutes, that's absolutely a perfect place to start. But like you were saying, it for sure is different than strength training. But cardio in itself it's important and it has its benefits for sure, but it's not going to be the key benefactor there to your metabolism. And that's a huge thing that I hope that we get across tonight.
Oh, so this is interesting that you say that. So if I go out, I can't tell you how many times I've coached people and they think they have to go like do it all at the aerobics class and then they realize they can't keep up, so they quit. It was too hard and they're tired now, they're sore now. Can you talk about like who needs what in cardio? Like explain what cardio means in terms of that 30 to 40 minutes. What does it mean?
Absolutely. So I typically think about those machine exercises that people are thinking of, but it is your running, your jogging, even if that is speed walking at a fast pace. It should be to the point where you're not able to talk to the person next to you, or you're not able to sing a song. I'm going to go singing because that's always me. I know that I'm hitting my peak moment when I can no longer sing my songs that are in my headphones.
But
But
does that mean, Emily, that I'm always doing cardio because I can't sing? I've been told I can't sing.
we should do karaoke and we can find out.
No, we should not.
No, that's so great though. But there's so many key things that people can really they'll know when they hit those marks whenever they do, but other movements like you were asking about, I mean, goodness, I think of rowing, the arc trainer, biking, swimming. There's definitely classes out there that you can take, and you will see if they say HIT, which is going to be your high intensity interval training, but which is doing this. So that's learning how to control that heart rate, and you're hitting those points again for an extended amount of time. And that's a great way to get yourself started if you're new to cardio, but also if you need to be properly taught certain movements, or properly taught how to breathe during that movement, because all of these things are so important with cardio. And like I said, it's not key to changing the metabolism, but it is key to getting you, yes, to burn some extra, calories. And in that cardio session, you're going to be sweating and burning those. But after that session, you're going to continue to have a peaked metabolism and continue to burn calories at a much higher rate after that cardio moment session, however it is that you get your cardio in.
Not to mention that that cardio is going to be detoxifying the body because of the sweat. So I
Oh,
know
yeah.
a lot of women go, well, I don't like to sweat, but sweating is part of our natural body function to be able to eliminate toxins. You can only eliminate toxins out of orifices. So think of your nose, mouth, and ears, nose, throat, okay, or through your feces or urine, or through the skin, which is your largest organ. So if we are sweating 5 times per week, we are eliminating toxins during that as well. So really so many benefits to cardio. But you said cardio does not control your metabolism. And a lot of people think, well, the more cardio I do, the more weight I'm going to lose. And they get frustrated when they're at the gym and they've been doing their cardio for X number of years. And they always come to us and go, I still have 10 to 15 pounds. I just can't get off. So, what if cardio doesn't control metabolism, Emily? What does?
Muscle, good old muscle. And it is so simple. It does not have to be, we're looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger over here with the big muscle. No, but us, muscular. It is what gives shape to the body. And it, like I said, controls that metabolism. That is what's going to give the boost to metabolism. That muscle on your body is what dictates while you're sleeping at night, the fact that you're still burning calories. The more muscle you have on your body, the more calories you are burning at rest. Like I was mentioning with cardio, after a good cardio session, yes, you are burning additional calories for a little bit of time, but the muscle is what's going to dictate how much you're burning without that cardio session involved as well. And then, too, like you were saying, people are doing cardio for X amount of years or time, and they're not seeing the shape that they want. And that shape is due to that muscle underneath. And goodness gracious, when that light bulb went off for me, to watch my body go from losing 50 pounds to the scale going up, but my waist going down, and seeing some really cool lines on the side of my arm. That was just the biggest aha and coolest moment of me realizing how important it is to incorporate every bit of training so that my body can look the same no matter what age I hit. Because I love people thinking I'm still in my 20s, and I am not.
You are not. I will attest to that. I will attest to that. So here's the thing. I think this is really cool because this goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning with functional mobility. is when you look at, and I'm going to just say this to our audience, a lot of times if you're in your 20s or 30s, you may be looking for that fit body. You might be looking, I actually did weightlifting. I actually won first place in a weightlifting competition in my 20s. Um, you know, so some of you might be bodybuilding, but I would say majority of us are looking for functional movement and functional fitness that's going to keep us healthy. And so when we're looking at that, the muscles, when you are working those, and then you do the mobility training and get those muscles really stretched out to be able to make those moves that require a movement to the side, or like you said, loading the dishwasher, doing everyday activities. That's what we want. So you want to work the muscle. The cardio allows your heart to keep up with the energy output of what you're doing. And then the mobility allows you to use the functional movements that we use in everyday life to pick up a child and carry them long distance when they're tired and you are going back to the car. Whatever it might be for you, we want to be able to do those things long term. And I always say, because when you are in your 80s and 90s, you do not want to not be able to get off the toilet.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, truly. So, are you doing enough things for those large leg muscles to keep you functional and mobile so that you don't get sore or pull something out every time you twist or turn or try to get in and out of the car? All these are functional movements that we need to consider. So, Emily, to wrap us up, because I think we covered everything just really succinctly in a nice little package.
Mhm.
Um, how would you say for somebody to put this together if they're maybe doing one piece or two out of the three, but they're not doing all three? Where would they start to put all this together to be able to come up with a program that's really going to move them in the right direction and move the needle?
So truthfully, I would always say if you're not doing mobility, excuse my kitty who's trying to come in and talk to you. If you're not doing mobility, I say focus on doing and adding that mobility work to your routine for at least 20 minutes. If you are someone who is a 3 times a week person and that's what fits your schedule, perfect. See if you can add it in just to one of those days and get started. It never has to be that big leap whenever we're creating something new. Creating a habit starts with those small, small steps, and you just add each time to reach that new level that you want to be at. Now, if you're on the I've never done any of this scale, but I'm interested in getting started, why don't you pick one of each? That's 3 days a week right there. Just to really teach yourself and then to learn your body also. You have to know how your mind responds to these movements. You have to know how your body responds to these movements. So definitely try out each. It's one of those don't knock it till you try it, because I can promise you 19-year-old me would have no idea that tonight's introduction would be my introduction at 35 years old. I would never see myself here training for this long and really loving what I do and helping people had I not just given it a try.
And I say, God works in mysterious ways. Thank God that He led you to this, because you are such an incredible, caring trainer. But on top of caring, and this is what I want to say to all of you, is you need to find somebody who's that coach, that accountability, because it's so easy to get wrapped up in life and just say, oh, life is happening, I can't get there. But if that goes on one day, the next day, that next day, it gets harder to get back on the train. But if you have a good coach or an accountability, they should be nice, but at the same time, a coach is meant to coach you, not to be just nice and let you off the hook easy. That is not the point of a coach. If you think of when you're, as a kid, if you ever played any sports or did any kind of musical instruments or anything like that, a coach is always trying to improve you in whatever you're doing to help you get better and better. They're not there to beat you up. Well, maybe if you were in football, maybe you did, but I've seen some football coaches that I'm like, wow, like those poor kids. But you want a coach that's really got some heart. And Emily, that's who you are. You've got heart, but you also, you know when to kick some butt. And I love that about you. So, in closing, do you have any last tips that you would like to add related to any of this? And obviously, we know we'll go into a little bit about nutrition on our next one.
Absolutely. My other thing to add to this is water. That's just another big thing to add with consistency because typically people aren't thinking of the importance of that. But adding water to your daily routine, even with adding these movements, you're going to want it during these movements, but really paying attention to that because that's another small, small thing that can make such a big change in overall health and just really bringing these three different types of training together. Water really is important to it. So I know that that was a random thought there, but I just felt that we needed to add that in here. It's very important to add, and it's a thing that most people are not thinking about adding in.
Emily, you're so right. 70% of our body is water, you guys. So therefore, we have to make sure we're replenishing that water every day. And we actually can talk about that on our next call, Emily, is because you might be drinking plenty of water, but not absorbing that water.
Mm-hmm.
Your cells need to get that water. How are we going to get the water into the cells? Is very important because your body is very scientific, but we don't need to make it scientific on how we teach it. We can teach it very simply and make it fun. So Emily, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast tonight because I think that people really need to be able to hear this. And where can they find you? Can you tell everyone where they can find you?
Absolutely. I do have an Instagram page. You can find me. It's going to be the letter E, the letter Z underscore thinking. So easy thinking, because that's like you just said, we need to make it about easy thinking, easy, healthy lifestyle. But you can also email me, or you can shoot me a text message and I can add that to this cover photo here at the end for anyone who needs to get in touch with me for coaching, whether that be one-on-one, or if you're interested in doing a challenge and getting started the way that I got started.
Challenges are the best. And I'm just going to say that if you've never done a challenge, challenges are you're in a group of people that are all headed in the same direction as you. And so it makes it fun because you've got accountability partners that are encouraging you, pushing you, irritating you, whatever. We do tend to do more when we're irritated than when we're motivated,
I
I
love
would
that. I
say.
say that all the time, all the time. Irritation is what gets you there. Motivation gets you started. Irritation is what gets you there because you got to be, you almost have to be irritated with where you are to really make that change and for it to matter to you. So I hope that we've sparked that in somebody this evening of getting started with something new. They're sick of feeling that pain in the joint or wherever it is, and we're going to get started with proper training.
Love it. Love it so much. Thank you so much, Emily. I will talk to you soon.
Yes, very much. Likewise. Good night.
Good night.